The Canucks spread the scoring, and they win a wild one down in Anaheim. 5-4 the final. We're breaking it down now on Rink Wide Vancouver. And we welcome you inside the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. I am Jeff. He is Irf. And we got a hockey game to break down. I tweeted this out after 40 minutes of play. I didn't know how the game was going to end, but I just kind of felt like this fan base needed a night like tonight where, I mean, how many times did you just sit back and laugh at the way this game went, the twists, the turns, the lack of defense on both sides, a backup goaltender at one end, a third or maybe a fourth string guy at the other, pucks going in from all over the place, a lot of goals, and ultimately it was a lot of fun, and fun has been in short supply. For the Vancouver Canucks this season, credit to them. They start this 4-game road trip with a 5-4 victory. They snap a 3-game losing streak. It's their 10th win of the year. So they're now 10-12-2. That's 22 points in 24 games. Nowhere close to where they need to be. And in the big picture, Irf, I don't think this result changes a lot of the conversation around this market this week with the president coming out and saying what he said about being open for business. But it does beat the alternative. It beats the alternative of the Canucks 7. The wheels played off them. I know they got outplayed in this game. But again, they spread the scoring around, and at the end of the night, you count them up. They had 5. Anaheim had 4.
Yeah, it was a complete mess of a hockey game on both ends, and it makes, like you just said, for a fun night of viewing hockey. You know, 2.5 hours of watching that game and saying, all right, this is kind of fun. It's not a recipe for success. It's chaos. Absolutely on both ends. Bet you the Ducks aren't happy with the way they played. I'm sure the Canucks aren't, but they will escape the happiest place on earth with 2 points, and that's all that matters to them.
Yeah, I mean, the amusement park down the street, Disneyland, the Knott's Berry Farm there as well. This one had the feel of sort of some thrill rides along the way, including a 2-on-0 shorthanded in the third period that could have been the difference in this hockey game. And ultimately, one of the differences was Nikita Tolapilo getting his first start of the season, stares down Frank Vetrano on a breakaway at 3-3. The Ducks score there. Hey, pretty good chance they win this hockey game, but Tolapilo made the best of his 37 saves. So he was busy, a little too busy. 41 shots. It seems to me that Jiri Patera faced 41 shots just over a week ago down in Florida. Canucks not taking kindly to these, these depth guys that are getting thrown into tough spots behind this defense. But Tolapilo fares a little better than Patera, who is the backup. We'll see if we see him on this road trip with back-to-back games coming up over the weekend here. But this was a nice start to the season in the National Hockey League for Nikita Tolapilo, who was injured down in Abbotsford, missed the better part of a month. Played last weekend, back-to-back nights in San Jose in the American Hockey League, and then got the call he was looking for. If he had been healthy earlier, he would have been up instead of Jiri Patera, so he had to wait a little bit to get his opportunity. His second NHL win. He did get a victory over the Sharks last year in his NHL debut, and so here is Nikita Tolapilo posting a victory and helping the Canucks start the road trip with a win. Rink Wide brought to you in part by Bet365. We'll have our line of the night a little bit later on. And, of course, we always want your super chats. We want to know what you're thinking about a game like this one. I said it earlier, but we'll throw it out there as a question to you, the fans. Does anything you saw in this hockey game do anything to change the conversation around a Canucks hockey club that is still a couple of games below NHL 500? Bring it with a super chat. It'll get to the top of the queue, and we will read it here on the program. Our super chat charity partner again this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Got a lot of goals to get to. We will do that. Justice16 bringing a super chat right off the top.
Nice.
Says 2 notes. Probably the most PD looking like EP40 game this year. And Tolapilo looked pretty good between the pipes. EP40 maybe back, and that is good. Now, I will agree that there were moments in that third period, Elias Pettersson with the dekes and taking the puck hard to the net. Was called for goaltender interference penalty, but again, it was an aggressive play trying to get the puck to the net to break the tie. So unfortunate that it takes a penalty. Peter Mrazek drew 2 penalties in this hockey game. Again, just added to the long list of things that you probably didn't expect. And then Elias Pettersson as well with the setup later in the hockey game. Actually, it was Hughes that set up DeBrusk. I was thinking it was Petey, but there was another play in that third period where Elias Pettersson stepped out of the penalty box wide open in front of the net. Ratu didn't see him, and Ratu with a long shot that was pretty harmless instead of slipping it across the EP40. So, yeah, I mean, there were moments in this hockey game. He had the difficult assignment of trying to match up against Leo Karlsson, who is an absolute beast and is going to be for a lot of years in this National Hockey League. But it wasn't a great night with the underlying numbers. Again, when you give up 41 shots as a team, it's pretty hard to find anybody that starred when it came to the analytics. But end of the night, again, these guys, they can laugh about it now because it is a victory. It was far from a perfect victory, but I just kind of feel like this team, with all the heat on them right now, they probably needed a day in the sun in Anaheim. That's a good start to the day, but they top it with a victory here. And look at the goal scorers, Irf. Linus Karlsson is 4th of the year. Evander Kane, his first in 9 games, his 4th of the season. Connor Garland with an absolute beauty to make it 3-1 midway through the second period. That's his 6th of the year. Max Sasson with his 5th of the season. Drew O'Connor with his 7th into an empty net. That turns out to be the game winner. It made it 5-3, and then Cutter Gauthier scored in dying seconds. Make it close. It's a garbage time goal that ultimately just pads the stats for Gauthier, who's having an incredible season. He's up to 14 on the year. But, yeah, Drew O'Connor, who took a penalty in the third period, an offensive zone penalty, taking a few too many of those this year, got the stick up into the face of Bennett Sedecki. Some anxious moments in the penalty box, but the Canucks able to kill that off, and then it's Drew O'Connor with just under 2 minutes to go into the empty net, and that one stands up as the game winner. So, we've seen the Canucks. Goal scoring's not been the issue for this team. Goal prevention has been, and it was again tonight. Yeah. They outscore their problems, and they do it in front of a depth goaltender. But, they'll take the kinds of contributions they got from Karlsson and Kane and Sasson. You don't want to flush those on, when you're getting goals from those guys, you want to believe that it's going to matter, and ultimately it adds up to a 5-4 victory.
Yeah, I thought Mad Max was good in this hockey game. I did. I thought that, right off the jump, I thought that he showed that he was assertive. He was getting on pucks fast. He was using his speed to try and create some space. R.C. Baines, we didn't even mention yet, who makes the play to get the first goal. Sasson steals his assist pretty much for just tipping that shot off from Marcus Pettersson. But that was all R.C. Baines making that play happen for the Canucks' first goal of the game. So good for R.C. Baines to get back into the lineup and be able to contribute there right away. I know he doesn't get anything for it, only a +1, but good for him there as well. Connor Garland, good in this hockey game. Blocked that shot left. Kind of worried a little. Yeah. I feel like when Connor Garland blocks a shot, almost every time, he goes to the room right away. And it's tough. He feels it right away. But that's putting your body on the line. That's exactly what they need. And again, we haven't talked about him yet. I'm sure Tom Willander was decent in this hockey game. He got the 2 assists. Broadcast talked about him quite a bit in this hockey game. Showed some signs of positivity. Of where he's going to succeed in his career and small little plays. And obviously he has a really, really large hockey IQ. And then beyond that, you mentioned Evander Kane, hadn't scored in a long time. That wrist shot of his is something that, he worked at for a very, very long time in his career. It was deadly. At one point when he was firing all those pucks and getting 20, 25, 30 goal seasons. And now for him to be able to go and do that, he's probably pretty happy. But all in all, you look at this game, like they have to go sit in the room when they're done and just look at each other and laugh at the way that this thing ended and how it ended the way it ended.
No, and there have been way too many nights this year where games have got away from them. Yeah. And I'm really curious, not that we'll have an opportunity, I don't think, on this program to find the comments of Joel Quenneville, but he's been around the game a long time, knows what it takes to win at this level. The Ducks are fun, without a doubt. They are young. They've got a ton of star power. They look like they're on their way, but make no mistake, they haven't won anything yet and have missed the playoffs for 7 straight seasons. They look like they are headed in the right direction here, but it's hard to imagine them getting anywhere that they truly want to go playing defense like that, especially in front of Peter Mrazek. They learned this morning that Lucas Dostal, who is their clear-cut number 1, day-to-day with an upper body injury, so Mrazek may have to play here in the interim. And he wasn't great, but didn't get a ton of support in front either. Again, just trading chances. And it just kind of felt like it wasn't just chances. Like it was breakaways after breakaways throughout this hockey game. Quinn Hughes had a breakaway at one point in the second period. Drew O'Connor had a breakaway opportunity. Brock Besser looked like he was going to have an opportunity on a breakaway. It turned into a Connor Garland stick handling in a phone booth, undressing Drew Hellison. And that was that 3-1 goal for Garland that came at 9:04 of the second period. So the Vancouver Canucks jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Also happened in Florida at the end of that last road trip. And we know
that game was chaos too.
It was. So I'm sure in a perfect world, Adam Foote would say, we got to tighten this thing up, got to stick to this structure that he's been working on all season. Unfortunately, I think this is who the Canucks are. It's just that there is enough offense there that on occasion they're going to be able to outscore the problems. You look at the last 3 road games, the Tampa game, the Florida game, and this one. 6 goals in Tampa, 5 in that third period alone, 5 in Florida in a losing effort, and 5 more. They've got 16 goals for their last 3 road games. Why can't they bring the road game to the home games at Rogers Arena? Even if they lose, at least they're entertaining away from home. They're not very entertaining on home ice, but the Canucks now 7-5-1. So they have won 7 of their first 13 road games. And again, this trip's going to test them into San Jose Friday afternoon, then to Los Angeles on Saturday night. And, of course, it finishes up in Colorado against the Avs, who may never lose again. Absolutely slaughtered the Sharks tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about the Sharks later as we preview Friday afternoon's contest. But when I look at this game, want to get to the 3 stars, and then I see we've got a couple other super chats that want to get to as well. But let's get to the 3 stars here. There were lots of guys to choose from. Obviously, lots of offense in this hockey game. The 3 stars on Rink Wide are always a presentation of Greta Bar. If you're looking for a great place to have a good time, Greta Bar's got you covered. Fun staff, terrific atmosphere. Walk through the front door and you know that you are somewhere special with all the arcade games, all those big screens to watch the games on TV. And if you're hungry, yeah, Greta's got you there as well. Incredible street food menu. They've got weekly and game day drink specials too. We have fun there with our Canucks Army watch parties. I saw an email about our next one that is in the planning stages. We'll certainly let you in on the details there. Greta Bar, 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar, let the games begin. 3 stars as selected in the building. Troy Terry, Max Sasson, and Jackson Lacombe. Terry had a bunch of shot attempts, but ultimately only had 1 shot on goal in this hockey game. And really, he had an assist, but finishes -3. But he had, 8 attempts, 7 of them missed the target. So I don't know how Troy Terry figures as the first star. Little different here. Come on. Nikita Tolapilo, given this opportunity, makes the most of it. 37 saves in his season debut. And good start for him. Ultimately gets the win. So, he gave up 4 the last one. We're not going to hold against him. And the fact that he gave up 4, but he made some stops. And we talked about the Vetrano save on the breakaway. There were some other ones in there as well. At one point, Anaheim outshot the Canucks 13-5 in the first period. The shots were 30-17 through 40 minutes. So Tolapilo was busy, and he had to be good, and he was. So good on him. We're going first star for Nikita Tolapilo. Connor Garland was dancing all night long. The goal itself, but he had 5 shots on goal. As you said, took the shot, took one for the team there. Hobbled, but returned to this game. And he's part of this penalty kill that, look, we have slagged, and rightly so. They've been brutal all season. Low key tonight in a game like this one.
I was going to say that.
The Canucks give up 1 power play goal 9 seconds into the second period, but they killed off 5 of 6. And again, in a tie game at 3-3, I had to kill off 3 third period penalties. So props to the guys that kill penalties. Haven't said that very often, but on this night and of late, it's been a little bit better here. So have they turned a corner? Who knows? But kind of quietly, penalty kill was, it was a push on the special teams because each team scored once with the man advantage. Anyways, Connor Garland is the second star, and there's Jackson Lacombe, budding young star in this game. Second-round pick in the 2019 draft here at Rogers Arena. In fact, he was 1 pick before Nils Höglander.
Yep.
Scored a goal. Nice wrist shot. Had a little time there in front of the net. Snapped it just inside the post on Tolapilo. He also picks up an assist. So a 2-point night for Jackson Lacombe. Beautiful skater and a guy that's going to be a driving force in the back end for the Ducks for a while here. So, yeah, there you go. 3 stars, Tolapilo, Garland, and Jackson.
I got absolutely no problem with that. Nikita Tolapilo, I mean, you just look at his story in the last 5 weeks, last month. Guy hasn't played hockey. He played 5 games this season, and one of them was in the NHL. I think that, that can't go unnoticed. He gets thrown in. Everything that's going on with the goaltenders, everything that's going on with the Vancouver Canucks. This guy also hasn't played, hasn't skated much, hasn't even really been in front of these guys at all. Has to go in there against a team that can score a lot of goals, that can create a lot of chances. And you mentioned the penalty kill. Your best player in your penalty kill is always your goalie, and he had to make some pretty tough saves. He had point blank chances. He came up big a few times, so you have to feel good for the big Belarusian who was able to go and backstop the Canucks. I know there's some goals that he probably wants back, which is obviously the case for any goaltender. Right. But on a night like this, and a night like where they needed a little bit of good vibes and good juju, good for him.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't beat himself up. You're right. The psyche of a goaltender, they think they can stop everything, and this is the NHL. You're going to give up some goals along the way, but it's when you make the saves that you made. The Toronto breakaway certainly stands out, but there were other ones as well. And, we talked about everybody that had a breakaway. Jackson Lacombe, remember in the first period when Tyler Myers came way over, halfway across the ice, collided with DPD, and Jackson Lacombe was able to scoot up, got a really good scoring opportunity there. There were a few others. Troy Terry hit a post in the first period. There was another post, I think, at some point in the second as well. So, again, just a high event night of hockey all around. At the end of the night, the Canucks outscore the Ducks by a score of 5-4. Super chat from Chris B. As a Nucks fan on the east coast of the U.S., I always look forward to listening to your show. That was an all-hands-on-deck performance tonight. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Chris, and to all our American watchers and listeners, whether it's the live stream or the podcast. Big Turkey Day on Thursday, big day of turkey and football.
Absolutely.
No games in the National Hockey League. That's going to affect Earth's line of the night. And then the Canucks on Black Friday. There are a bunch of early games, not just the Canucks and the Sharks, but that's the way the NHL sort of spreads the love, takes the day off, gives football center stage in the U.S., and then comes back at it with a bunch of games on Friday. So it was a busy night around the National Hockey League here on this Wednesday, on Thanksgiving Eve, and then again coming out of Thanksgiving on Black Friday. There's a bunch of hockey games to go there. Angelo says, Verlander, the real deal. Now, you mentioned Tom Verlander. First career multi-point night. He gets the primary assist on the Evander Kane power play goal, and then he gets a second assist on the Garland goal. So he's in on back-to-back goals, the Canucks' second and third of the night. And that's great to see. I know that the broadcast highlighted a nice defensive play as well when he had Ross Johnson,
a big guy,
piece of business, bearing down on him and, showed no fear, positioned himself well, used his body to shield Johnson, went back, made the play on the end wall, took a hit, and Canucks were able to transition the puck up ice. And so you like to see that. And there was a lot to like in Tom Verlander's game. But the numbers are what the numbers are.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no getting around the fact that the underlying numbers were not kind to Tom Verlander and his defense partner, Marcus Pettersson. Individual Corsi of 15.6% for Verlander. The shot attempts at 5-on-5, 27-5 in favor of the Ducks. That's a lot of defending. The actual shots were 11-2, but at the end of the night, it's a saw-off. He was on the ice for a 5-on-5 goal for and a 5-on-5 goal again. So no real damage done in terms of pucks that entered the net. The one assist on the power play, as we mentioned. So that's why it was 1-1 at 5-on-5. So, yeah, I mean, look, this is the steepest learning curve possible. It's learning on the job in the National Hockey League. You take the good, but certainly there are some areas to clean up. And I did think it was interesting that as the Canucks went out on the road here, they elected to pair their young guys with veterans. So, I mean, there's nowhere to shelter. You don't get the last change. You know that these other coaches are going to pounce. And we've seen that it's been a bit of a struggle for DPD and Verlander when they've played together on a lot of nights this year. So I think a wise decision on the part of the Canucks coaching staff to insulate the young guys with a veteran.
Yeah, Elias Pettersson, he had a little bit of a rough night, made a couple bad pinches. Those are things that you're going to learn. But I thought underlying numbers obviously saying what they were. Watching Tom Willander, look and make plays and show and be that big physical presence, I think is something that, the Canucks can look at when they watch the tape and say, okay, there are things that we can correct, but these are the things that we want you to want you to keep doing. Stick on the ice in good positions, able to get the puck out of the zone. I think that's important for him as well. And just trying to be as solid as he can back there. And I like the fact that they are paired with veterans. When you have a guy that's, Marcus Pettersson, who has played in this league for a very, very long time, obviously the Swedish connection, they don't have to speak in English, yell at each other. There's no language barrier. Yell at each other in Swedish for all they care. But I think that there are times when you watch Willander play, you say, okay, when's he going to make the biggest mistake? And he doesn't really make those too much. There was the one game where he had the bad pinch and it led to a goal.
Right.
And I think beyond that, we've looked at his game here. Sure, the underlying numbers are say what they are, but he hasn't looked out of place. And I think that that's an important thing. This kid's still so young. He's got so much room to improve and grow. And I think that right now, playing in trial by fire they're not in a position where they're going to go and compete for a Stanley Cup and things like that. So you can learn the game at a very high speed this way, and it's okay to make mistakes if you're Willander.
We talk about the underlying numbers. Let's look at the other end of the spectrum here, because I think he's starting to get his flowers now. People are recognizing that Filip Hronek's had a really, really nice start to the season, even though as a team, and I know it's a team game, there hasn't been enough winning, but it's not because of anything that Filip Hronek is giving this hockey club. Filip Hronek's night tonight, he plays 24 and a half minutes. He's going to get 24 minutes and 18 seconds. 2 assists plus 3. And again, in a game in which the Canucks give up 41 shots, Filip Hronek's got an individual Corsi of 62.5. The shot attempts were 30-18 in the Canucks' favor. The actual shots are 12-10. So when Hronek's out there, the Canucks outshoot the Anaheim Ducks. When he isn't out there, Canucks were absolutely buried. And he plays with Quinn Hughes, but I think Hronek has shown here through the first 24 games that his play is more than just being a product of him being associated and sharing the ice with Quinn Hughes. This guy's playing hard and finding ways to contribute. And tonight, a 2-assist night again. In fact, I actually thought the goal is credited to Sass, and I guess it's deflected on its way, but it banks in off Drew Helleson. I know Kiefer Sherwood was in the blue paint celebrating and looked like it might have been his 13th goal. It wasn't, but for a moment there, I thought it might be Hronek, who scored the other night and looked like maybe he'd scored in back-to-back, but Mad Max got his stick on it. Still, it's a primary assist for Filip Hronek. Again, a game in which the Canucks give up too much, but I think if you kind of, clear through all the numbers and all the noise around this game, another really solid night for Filip Hronek.
Hronek's been a beast all year. He came into camp with a good attitude, and it showed. And, whether he plays with Quinn Hughes or whether he doesn't, I know that the knock on him is he struggles when he doesn't play with Quinn Hughes, but he's a guy that, has gone in and really zoned in on his defensive responsibility and played really well. He's a tough guy to play against. Guys don't like playing against him. And then offensively, if he starts to find his game, he lets that cannon of a shot go here in sometimes, he's going to be able to get more points and be able to put the puck in the net a little bit more.
All right, let's get to our stat that stands out. It's delivered on every episode of Rink Wide by Uber Eats, and Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. And every time the Canucks are playing at home, you can get a buy one, get one 6-piece chicken McNuggets from McDonald's in Vancouver, only on Uber Eats. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, and after the game. Uber Eats assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Hashtag crave the stats. Sometimes teams just have other teams' numbers. And who knows why? You look at the standings, come into this game, Ducks top in the Pacific Division, Canucks buried down there near the bottom. And yet, this was the 10th time in the last 11 meetings between the Vancouver Canucks and the Anaheim Ducks that the Canucks have come out on top. So go figure. They went 3-1 last year. They're off to a 1-0 start. They will play 3 more times. They get the Ducks 4 times this season. But this is a nice start to the season series, and again, against the betting odds, the Vancouver Canucks rise up and they find a way to get a victory, and they have done that a bunch against this Anaheim team over the last couple of seasons. So, yeah, that kind of stands out. Not sure that people would have expected that, but it's looking like with the Ducks on the rise and the Sharks are making some strides here, California is going to be a difficult place for teams to visit for the foreseeable future. But not with the record like that. The Canucks are like, hey, dig in. We're fine. And we'll see how this goes. North to San Jose on Friday afternoon, and then back down to SoCal to take on the Kings on Saturday night. But there you go. 10 of the last 11. Yeah, that is definitely a stat that stands out.
Even this season, 8-2, their home ice record, the Ducks.
Yep.
And coming into this game, so the Canucks handed them their third home ice loss this season. I mean, that's a team that plays well on home ice. I mean, if it's as chaotic as it was here, then they're a team that had super, super high end offensive talent. Keeping the puck out of the net, obviously, is something that they've struggled with, because if teams trade chance for chance on nights like this, they're going to go and lose that game. But yeah, I mean, the Ducks have had some bad teams over the years, real bad hockey teams. So that record really doesn't. It's very large, obviously 1 in the last 11, but judging by how bad some of their teams have been, you can kind of see it a little bit.
Yeah, Canucks haven't been all that great
you're right.
The last little while.
Well, the Ducks have stunk.
Yes. No, I mean, 7 straight years without the playoffs, and so they got their work cut out for them. They look like they're tracking there. They've got a coach with Stanley Cup pedigree now, ton of nice pieces that are developing. Like Leo Karlsson is a beast. The guy just wants the puck. He sort of commands the puck, and I remember at the time when they took him second, and there were people like, what are you doing taking him second? Duck scouts seemed to know what they were doing. I look at Leo Carlson's night, 22 minutes and 55 seconds, 6 shots on 10 attempts. He takes 26 faceoffs, won 11 of them, so he came out on the short end of the faceoff draw. The Ducks ended up winning 31 and losing 30, so pretty much a saw-off in the faceoff circle. But Leo Carlsson, fun to watch. He scores a goal off that scramble just at the end of an Anaheim power play, and off the backhand was able to put it in. And then moments later, Mason McTavish, the 2-on-1 when DPD pinched and got caught there. And so at 3-1, the Canucks were feeling good about things, but just the way the game was going, you knew that it wasn't going to end at 3-1. That there was more offense to come, and sure enough, a bunch more goals, 9 as it turns out. But the Canucks get 5 of them, and they win this hockey game by a score of 5-4.
You know, one of my favorite parts of this hockey game was the Kiefer Sherwood, David Kampf 2-on-0 shorthanded breakaway. And Sherwood didn't even look at Kampf.
Well, one guy's got a dozen goals.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
The other guy has
2-0, though. You think there'd be a little bit of passing, but
it's funny. David Kampf as the second line center. I mean, it makes no sense, and yet that line with Besser and Connor Garland at 5-on-5 tonight. Brock Besser should have had about 6 goals himself. He had 8 shot attempts, and Connor Garland had 7. And Garland did score, and Besser gets the primary assist on that one. But Brock was snap of the puck in good shooting positions, both at 5-on-5 and on the power play. Just not the kind of had to recalibrate a little bit, just off the mark a little too much with 2 of his 8 attempts missing, 6 of his 8 attempts missing the net. 2 were on goal, but that line had the puck in the offensive zone, making some things happen. And but I mean, still, David Kampf is the second line center is not the answer. And yet, saying that, David Kampf is the second line center, and this team still scores 5 goals and beats the Anaheim Ducks by a score of 5-4. We kind of glossed over him because it was lost in everything else, and his goal opened the scoring at the 9:49 mark of the first period. I mean, we touched on it briefly that Archdeep kind of robbed of an assist there, but Linus Karlsson showing the hands. Saw a lot of that in Abbotsford last year on the run to the Calder Cup. This guy's goals aren't pretty generally, but he can be and is starting to be pretty damn effective for the Vancouver Canucks in limited ice time. And again, he plays 6 minutes and 49 seconds of this hockey game. 3 shots on goal, scores his 4th goal, or if he has 4 goals in the last 8 games. Like, that's a nice run at the National Hockey League level. He's not going to score every other game for the rest of the season. Don't get your hopes up here, but Linus Karlsson contributing and finding ways to contribute even in really limited minutes. The only guy that played less than him was Arshdeep Bains. Arshdeep didn't even get to 5 minutes in this hockey game. 4 minutes and 58 seconds.
Well, he made the most with the 30 seconds that he had on the opening goal.
And so, look, I have been harsh on Arshdeep Bains. This is his 40th National Hockey League game. He got back in the lineup after sitting out 5. And I have said, like, there has to be a bottom line. You can't just put on the uniform and not find a way to contribute. Remember the play that he makes on the Karlsson goal, because, if ever there was a third assist to be awarded, controls the puck on the sideboards, looks the guy off, spins away, creates some space for himself, and then gets it back to Marcus Pettersson. His shot is tipped by Max Sasson on the way to the net, and then off the end boards, Karlsson's there, right-handed shot, corrals it, and Peter Mrazek can't get across the net in time to make the save. And so Arshdeep doesn't figure in the scoring there, but that goal doesn't happen without him. But what can you say about Linus Karlsson? I mean, 4 goals in 8 games. Like, absolutely, you'll take that kind of contribution from a guy that is playing on the fourth line and getting limited opportunity.
Yeah, I think it took him a dozen games to get his feet under him. Maybe a little bit of the Calder Cup hangover. It was a long postseason for them, went all the way till the end of June, and then a short summer. But we sat here in the beginning of the season and throughout training camp. Obviously, you were there in Penticton and said, which one of these guys is going to grab this spot? Which one of these guys is going to take it and make it theirs? And now we're seeing, I think it's going to be Linus Karlsson. I think that he's the guy. Max Sasson has his moments, but on a consistent basis here, night in and night out, you're getting a lot of contributions from Linus Karlsson.
Yeah, Sasson's up to 5 goals now. Karlsson's at 4. So, I don't know. I may have to eat my words here, because I got into it with the guy on social who told me that each of those guys was going to score 15 this year. Arshdeep's got some work to do, but Karlsson and Sasson are on pace. Like, a third of the way through the season, they're 4 and 5 goals, so not out of the question. I think the Canucks would sign up in a heartbeat if they could get 15 goals from guys like Max Sasson and Linus Karlsson. We'll see how things progress here as this season goes along. This segment of Rink Wide is presented by the Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. And it's no compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. Drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone. That's enough to get you from downtown to the rink to the grocery store and then home to recharge. It seamlessly transitions from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. No sacrifices when it comes to horsepower or style, with its sleek and low, wide exterior and sophisticated interior, and it's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. Right now, you can lease a 2025 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 64 months with $3,600 down, and that includes a $3,000 discount. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Anaheim had 6 power plays. Canucks had 3, so there was a fair bit of special teams action in this hockey game. Quinn Hughes doesn't kill penalties generally, and so I thought it was interesting that earlier in the week, Adam Foote was asked about Quinn's usage and up over 30 minutes the other night in a losing cause against the Calgary Flames. And Adam Foote talked about how, both Quinn and the coaching staff had to be smarter about things, and that maybe his shifts were a little longer than they would like. Quinn was part of these meetings that took place in the bowels of Rogers Arena on Monday. Whatever the case, through 2 periods, Quinn Hughes had played under 16 minutes, which seemed pretty manageable. And then, that keeps him fresh enough. It's a 3-3 tie going to the 3rd period. I haven't looked at the full breakdown.
At 24:52?
But still, that's a reasonable number. He doesn't need to play 30 minutes all the time. But he did play, the most of the 3 periods in this hockey game. He played 8:55 of the 3rd period. And you want your best players on the ice, but you want them to be fresh and able to contribute. And so this wasn't the night where they leaned on Quinn Hughes. He does pick up an assist, and we talked about the setup for Jake DeBrusk as well. Probably should have been a second assist there, but whatever the case, I think it can't always be Quinn, right? Like, that can't be the singular path to victory for this hockey club, and it wasn't tonight. I actually liked the way that they handled the defense and sort of put the reins on Quinn Hughes, if you will, certainly in the first couple of periods.
It's just about being smart about it, right? It's a long season. You don't want him to get hurt. Yeah, exactly. And you're going to eat big minutes. So you know you're going to play. But if you want Quinn Hughes at his best in the third period, he can't be playing 17, 18 minutes through the first two periods. He just can't, or up to 20 minutes. You just can't do that. You can't have that. And, this was a game where they looked at it, and obviously he did as well, and was like, you know what, let's try and figure this out. Our defense, the way that we have it set up right now, I think it's okay to not take a 2.5 minute shift. I think it's okay to not get caught out there. It's okay to not be Quinn Hughes sometimes. Right. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't need to skate around and do that. That's totally okay. They're going to win more hockey games if he's not on the ice killing himself and tiring himself out all the time.
Yeah, and in his 24 minutes and 52 seconds, he plays 3.5 on the power play, 45 seconds of shorthanded time. He had a shot on 5 attempts, 3 block shots. Led the Canucks in block shots. That's a statistic you don't see very often from Quinn Hughes. As a team, they only blocked 14, so Anaheim shots were getting through for the most part, but Nikita Tolapilo there doing his part as the last line of defense, and the Vancouver Canucks able to win this hockey game by a score of 5-4. We generally devote some time on each of these episodes looking at Elias Pettersson's night, EP40 we're talking about here. What did you make of number 40 for the Canucks in this one?
I thought he was good. Like I think he has been good. He's been one of their most consistent. He's probably their most consistent forward this last month, right? Other than Kiefer Sherwood tailed off a little bit, but it's been Elias Pettersson. Quieting a lot of people, myself included, about his play. And I think that, on some nights you get the extra effort. There was a diving play that he made, and he was doing other things and, getting in the way and playing hard. He took the penalty. He's probably not going to like taking that penalty where there was a goaltender interference. But the move that he made to get to that, you want to see more of. You want to see him driving the net. You want to see him be a playmaker and do those things. So for Elias Pettersson on his night, he had an assist. He had 3 shots, 2 missed, so 5 attempts, and he was 13-10 in the faceoff circle. And that's a lot better than against the Calgary Flames when he was absolutely destroyed by Nazem Kadri. Yeah. And he got that tough matchup. I mentioned how good Leo Carlsson is. That's a guy that's probably going to be with him on the Swedish Olympic team. 1 big center and Elias Pettersson, and he got the better of him tonight.
Tried the hip check as well in the third period. Cutter Gauthier just sidestepped it. We also saw the big hit. Radko Gudas, no surprise there, has been doing this throughout his career, but he caught Evander Kane in the neutral zone. Where was that? Late in the first period. I actually thought Kane might get up, and it's 2-0 in that time. Maybe not the Canucks had the lead, but still we know that Evander sometimes will go off script. I kind of thought that he may seek some retribution there. Those two have probably butted heads through the years in the National Hockey League, whatever. I mean, it was a hard hit. I think it was fairly clean, but Gudas,
Gudas does that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a low bridge, but Kane hopped up. He was fine, so that part was good. And then, I think more good than bad in Evander's game. I want to give him credit on his goal. We talked about the fact the shot off the left wing there. But he wins the faceoff. It's the second power play unit, and Evander doesn't take many faceoffs, but he's able to win it back to Tom Willander as we show the goal in the live stream here. Comes back to Willander, and there's Kane from the top of the left faceoff circle. Linus Karlsson in front of the net, doesn't figure in the scoring, but again, as he's done much of the season, there's Karlsson in front of the net, taking away the eyes of the goaltender. And some will say, hey, the Canucks caught a break. They didn't see Dostal. They get Peter Mrazek. And again, the Canucks are 4 deep in goal here. 24 games into the season, they're on to their 4th goaltender already. So I don't think the Canucks are going to feel too sorry for the Ducks that they didn't have their starter. Canucks didn't have any of their, either of their top 2, and then I guess it's a bit of a coin flip. I would think at this stage that Tolapilo is ahead of Patera on the depth chart.
Yes.
And I think this decision tonight. But if Lankinen can't join this team early in the road trip, they've got the back-to-back games Friday afternoon and then Saturday. I think you probably do see Patera again.
I think if Lankinen doesn't join tomorrow's Thursday. I think if Lankinen doesn't join tomorrow, you go Tolapilo, and if Lankinen plays Saturday.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's the plan. That Tolapilo right now, tell him he's going again on Friday.
He's going again,
and that buys a couple of days for Lankinen to rejoin the team if that happens. And again, we don't know we're not prying. We hope that everything's fine. And the word from Adam Foote after the morning skate indicated that the fact that Lankinen could join this team, it's a 2-hour flight down to the Los Angeles area, shorter to get to the Bay Area for Friday afternoon. That sounds promising that whatever it is that's taken Lankinen away from this hockey club is in order.
Are the Canucks going to get 4 backups on this road trip? We talk about this, the Vancouver Canucks goalies, but when you look at who their opponents are coming up, San Jose, and then you go LA on the second of back-to-backs, who will also be playing on the second of back-to-backs, and then into the Colorado Avalanche, who are on a heater, and it doesn't really matter who they play at this point.
Right. The only thing that may change that is that Yaroslav Askarov got the start in Colorado tonight. And he got lit up.
Yeah.
And they got him out of there. And so they turned to Alex Nedeljkovic as the backup, but Colorado just flattened San Jose 6-0. And so I wonder if by getting Askarov out of there early in that hockey game, does that free him up to go back?
Yeah.
He is the de facto starter in San Jose. His numbers are better than Nedeljkovic's, but young guy trying to establish himself in the National Hockey League. Looks like he's on a pretty good path. That might be the only thing. But you're right. The Kings play on Friday afternoon as well before the Canucks are there on Saturday. So it's back-to-back for both of those teams. They could very well get the Kings back up, and then by the time they get to Colorado, who knows? The Avalanche win streak will be at like 15 or something. It may not matter who's in goal for the Colorado Avalanche, but quite possible 3 and maybe 4 backup goaltenders to answer your question on this road trip. And in saying that, like, some teams are going to have to take note of the fact that the Canucks are usually a mess on their own end, but they mean business offensively somehow, some way. And this is the 8th straight game that the Vancouver Canucks scored a power play goal. The Evander Kane goal coming with the man advantage 11 minutes into the first period. 8 straight now. The Canucks have scored a power play goal. So, you can look at the record and think, oh, yeah, throw the backup in there. But somehow, some way, this team riding a percentage bender, certainly. But they are scoring in bunches, and they get 5 more in this hockey game. Irv, I just feel like this was probably good preparation for the Canuck fan base for what we're likely to see on Friday. Like, the Sharks don't play great defense either.
No. And they've got really good players too.
They can run and gun. Yeah. So brace yourself. Maybe more of this. Again, it was fun. I don't know that the coaches would find it all that fun, but we shall see. Hopefully they don't coach the fun out of this. There, again, hasn't been nearly enough of it, which leads us to the end of the month vibe check around the Vancouver Canucks. Before we get to our line of the night here, if you were with us at the end of October, we're going to do this the final game of each month that Irf is working. Now, you're not in with us on Friday or Saturday, so this is your final game
but I like it.
Of the month.
Yeah.
So we'll do this. Obviously, we know the storylines around the Canucks coming into this game and all season long, and it all builds to this idea of win to keep Quinn and make him happy. And so, look, for this night, some laughs, some goals. It was fun. Again, the season hasn't been terribly fun. So we kind of have to separate the result in the game that we watched tonight from
what I'm about to tell you.
The overall vibe meter. But where is the Irfan Gaffar vibe meter nearing the end of November? I mean, we're at the U.S. Thanksgiving mark now. This is the benchmark that everybody seems to use. So here we are. What's the vibe meter?
So we're on the eve of U.S. Thanksgiving. We take a look at teams and tend to separate them. Pretenders, contenders, what are you doings, and this needs to change. And I think we can all agree, Jeff, that things need to change. So much so, President has come out and let it be known in writing to 31 other GMs in the National Hockey League that he's open for business. Jake, give me the vibe meter. It's 3. It's 3. It's 3 out of a possible 10. And now the only reason, Jeff, it's not lower is because of Kiefer Sherwood and Elias Pettersson. Both have moved this month who have played extremely well, and albeit a little bit more recently for Elias Pettersson. I get it. Some injuries have hurt this team. You're out with a lot of your star players, the biggest obviously being Thatcher Demko. But man, the bottom of the standings in many statistical categories, this team's just not that good. I don't need Marlboros and nuts to tell me that, they're not, that this roster is flawed. System on most nights lacks execution, and on a cold Sunday night in November against the worst team in the National Hockey League, you got slapped in the face and you did nothing about it. That's what we have seen this season so far. You know what doesn't happen to good teams? Stinking on home ice. Canucks home ice record, not good. You know what else doesn't happen to good teams? Being ready to play. How many nights have you and I sat here and watched games and watched teams cook the Canucks through 40 minutes only for them to try and mount a comeback and get it to almost there? But we've done that a lot.
Yep.
It may not be as soap opera-y as it was last season, but there's always something going on with this team. A ton more questions and answers with this hockey club, biggest being the future of its captain and best player that's going to loom large until he either signs the biggest extension in NHL history or the Canucks receive a king's ransom. When you say everything's on the table for change, we haven't even hit December yet, I agree with the fan base. Time to blow it up, time to say goodbye, and time for a hard look in the mirror, and they need to say we need to rebuild this thing.
All right. On this night, the vibes meter might have been a little bit higher. Overall, though, I'm with you.
Yeah.
There it is. So we'll do that again over the holiday season at the end of December.
Maybe it'll be more jolly after Christmas.
Yeah, well, a few more wins would
help.
Certainly, it would. But I also think a few more wins could very well mask the foundational issues around this hockey club. Like this front office cannot get. If the Canucks go 2-1-1 on this 4-game road trip, in the grand scheme, it doesn't change anything here at the U.S. Thanksgiving. After tonight, I mean, they pick up 2 points. Good on them. We're now allowed to at least take a glance at the standings, right?
US Thanksgiving? Let's go right at it. Let's take a deep dive in it, actually. Because when you really look at it, even like just for looking at it for fun, even the East is nuts. But we're here, obviously. We look at the wild card standings in the West, and it's wild too.
Yeah, I mean, the Canucks get their 2 points. They snap a 3-game losing streak, and with that, they leap all the way up into a tie for 28th with the Buffalo Sabres in the overall standings. So good times. And Utah holding down the final wildcard spot at U.S. Thanksgiving with 27 points. The Canucks are 5 back. They've got 22. But Chicago, San Jose, Edmonton, Winnipeg, all between the Canucks and those Utah Mammoth, who will be the first opponent when the Canucks come back off this road trip. So there you go. The vibe meter at 3, and we'll see if that improves in the days and weeks ahead. All right. There's one segment out of the way. Another one coming right back at you. It is our Bet365 line of the night, but with no games on Thanksgiving Thursday in the U.S. What are we doing? Where are we going?
Let's go right back to the standings.
Okay.
I think it's a good place to look. And I like this one because we take a look at the standings now, and you see the Anaheim Ducks, who currently are leading the Pacific Division with 29 points. Mm-hmm. For them to win the division, that's plus 650. I don't think it's going to happen. To be honest, I think we're looking at more Vegas Golden Knights, maybe at minus 110, and the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers might snap back to reality here at some point. You think that they would. They got embarrassed on home ice again by another very good team in the National Hockey League, but those are some pretty good odds for the Oilers or even the Kings to win that division. I'm not entirely sure that the Ducks do. Canucks, obviously, some pretty long shots there. And the Kraken at plus 3,300 to win the Pacific Division. So some good odds if you're looking at it on Bet365 to lay down a futures bet for who wants to win the Pacific Division or who do you think does. But whatever you bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get it on the game, use code NATION. Bet365 must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly.
Spatzilli with the super chat says, Rink Wide Gang show out. By now, you have to know that the Rink Wide Gang is going to show out each and every night. We do this after every single game. Urf is here for most of them. Tyson Cole will be here over the weekend. I think Harm. We get Harm on Friday afternoon, so always fun having Harm Dial of the Athletic and Canucks Convo sitting in for the Friday matinee. But, Rink Wide's got you covered after each and every Vancouver Canuck game all season long. And the next one is in San Jose. We talked a little bit about the fact that the Sharks, I think they have made strides here. Their record would indicate. I mean, they were so bad all of last season. After this loss in Colorado tonight, they're 11-10-3. So by NHL 500 standards, they're on the right side. It's 11 wins in 24 games, so not quite half there. Macklin Celebrini didn't figure in the scoring because nobody on the Sharks scored in this hockey game. But wow, what a season he's having. 14 goals, 20 assists, 34 points for the Pride of North Vancouver. Hands down, the leader there. And it is insane that he's right there knocking on the door. I mean, McKinnon picked up a bunch of points in that game. So it was head-to-head, McKinnon and Macklin. Nate gets to the edge, but Macklin Celebrini among the league leaders in scoring. So,
well, wasn't it before the weekend that McKinnon had 10 points? Celebrini and Bedard were leading the league in points.
Yeah, and then
McKinnon played Vancouver.
Hang on a second here. It was kind of like I likened it to the king of the jungle. Like he was, let out a roar, and he was like, "Not yet. I'm not ready to cede my spot atop the NHL scoring." And then goes out, and you're right, has 5 points and 4 points and follows it up with 5 here. Macklin Celebrini with 34 points. Will Smith has 21, so he's off to a nice start. Dmitry Orlov, I forgot that he was in San Jose. He's got 13 assists, doesn't have a goal. And so then I was like, all right, 13 assists without a goal. Is that the most points without a goal in the NHL? The answer is no. Charlie McAvoy, who's out for a while, but McAvoy has 14 assists, no goals. So we'll see if Dmitry Orlov passes him. And then we talked about Yaroslav Askarov, who came into this night with nice numbers, but the hook was out. Sharks were winless in their first 6. Since then, they're 11-6-1. So, again, starting to find some traction, built around one of the best young players in the National Hockey League. They're decent on home ice, 7-4-3. So we'll see what that record is once the Canucks visit on Friday afternoon. And 3 former Canucks on this Shark team. Tyler Toffoli, not the start that he was looking for, just 5 goals. Adam Gaudette, old friend, and Vinny Desharnais is pretty much a regular on that San Jose defense. So, again, we talk about the fact that Sharks aren't all that solid defensively. We'll see what it looks like when these two teams line up on Friday afternoon. It's a 1 o'clock start. Note the start time. I know it's not a holiday on this side of the border, so a lot of people are going to have to sneak a glance or listen to the game online at work, whatever the case. We'll be here to wrap it all up, whether you join us for the live stream or catch us on the podcast after the fact. We'll have you covered on Rink Wide Vancouver. All right. This was fun.
It's always fun.
It was a fun night of hockey.
It was a fun night of hockey. Yeah.
Again, few and far between. Can't promise that they're all going to look like this, but back and forth they went, and ultimately the Canucks outscore the Ducks and outscore the problems and win it by a score of 5-4. Make sure you're checking out Canucks Army. If you're not already, add it to your list of websites to visit. Comprehensive coverage of all things Canucks throughout the day, and of course after the game as well, a bunch of game recap features. And so we direct you to Canucks Army, and then, of course, as well, Harrison Price and Canucks Convo. Those shows the day after a game. Matt and Blake will have you covered with their show at noon, and then Convo guys at 2 o'clock every afternoon. So lots going on here at the Nation Network. Make sure that you're checking all of that out. And we've told you before, but hit subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Rink Wide YouTube channel. We've got some new content this season that we haven't been doing in years gone by. Practice reports, and we thank everybody that's checked those out. We'll continue to do those when the Canucks are at home and practicing in this condensed schedule. Practice time hard to come by, but they are slated to practice down in Anaheim tomorrow before flying north to the Bay Area. So we'll see what comes out of practice and if we get any clues about the way they may line up, or if any of these players that are supposed to join them down in California show up and are on the ice at practice. We'll have that covered for you at Canucks Army. 5-4, the final score. Canucks snap their 3-game losing streak. They get goals from Linus Karlsson, Evander Kane, Connor Garland, Max Sasson, Drew O'Connor with the empty netter that turns out to be the game winner. Jake Fraser helping out behind the scenes. We appreciate all of his contributions to the program. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy your Thursday of football.
Yeah, go Whitecaps.
Whitecaps playoffs as well. And we'll be back to do this on Friday afternoon after the Canucks and the Sharks. But that is going to do it for us. The final score from Anaheim, Canucks 5, the Ducks 4. This has been Rink Wide Vancouver.